I need to know who changes tactics when they win it. I need to know who got a hot hand from the outside and decide they want to start to pack it in. Who running up and down the floor between the tackles and decides they gonna start throwing for no reason. I need to understand how you got down to the 1 yard line with the possibility of winning the Super Bowl and you decide you want to throw a pass into traffic. Seattle Seahawks. That don't make no sense. Shout out to all the subscribers and the members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. My name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Hey, Senate Democrats, this you? No, you know what I'm talking about. What Democrats are and aren't getting in the deal that could end the government shutdown. Senate Democrats are poised to help Republicans pass a bill that could lead to the end of the shutdown, but the deal they're agreeing to doesn't directly address what was once Democrats' key demand, an extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies, which are due to expire by year's end. The Senate took a major step towards ending the shutdown Sunday night when 8 Democrats in the narrowly divided chamber voted for a procedural motion that paves the way for approval of a negotiated funding bill. Those 8 Democrats who broke with party leadership were just enough for the measure to hit the 60-vote threshold required to overcome the filibuster. That rule has prevented Republicans who hold a slim majority in the Senate from reopening the government on their own.
What do you mean by that?
What Democrats wanted. Democrats had demanded that any funding bill must include significant additional spending on health care protections and other key measures. Most notably, they fought for a permanent extension of the enhanced tax credits under the ACA, which were introduced during the Biden administration and are set to expire by year's end. If those subsidies lapse, millions of Americans could either lose their health insurance or see their premiums rise significantly. Democrats also sought to reverse some recent cuts to Medicaid and other health programs, and they aim to address the Trump administration's freezing of congressionally approved federal funds, which Democrats say is illegal.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
What's in the funding deal? The text of the funding deal that helped spur Sunday's breakthrough leaves many of these priorities unaddressed. The 31-page bill makes no mention of the expiring Obamacare tax credits. Instead, the agreement includes a guarantee from Republican leadership that the Senate will vote on a health care bill drafted by Democrats before the second week of December. Even if a bill to extend the tax credits passes the Senate, it would have to be taken up and passed through the GOP-led House and then signed by Trump. House Speaker Mike Johnson hasn't promised to bring such a bill to a vote in his chamber.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
What the hell is wrong with y'all? What the hell is wrong with y'all? That is the worst deal since heads I win, tails you lose. That's the worst deal since back in the day when I used to tell little girls in class, heads I'm yours, tails you're mine. That's the worst deal since grade school. That's the worst deal I've seen since Paul from the Temptations family agreed to sign over his rights so they can make that movie, and they had him stumbling around in the living room. Okay? They signed over his life rights, and they had him, for once in my life, somebody heard my plea. Get off me. Get off me. That's the worst deal. That's the worst deal since Paul was singing Covered in Sweat in the Temptations movie.
Somebody's heard my plea.
And this is exactly This hit the nail on the head right here. Chuck Schumer helps pull Democrats back from the brink of courage. That's exactly it. You were right there on the brink of courage. And let's not play the game of how Chuck Schumer voted. I saw your little video.
For months and months, Democrats have been fighting to get the Senate to address the health care crisis. This bill does nothing to ensure that that crisis is addressed. I am voting no, and I will keep fighting.
I saw your little video that you posted, Chuck Schumer, about how I'm voting no on that. I saw your little video. Well, here's the problem with that. First of all, we don't know that we can trust you because we've seen how many times you have flip-flopped on things in the past.
If we give an inch on the CR, they're going to take a mile on the debt ceiling. The hard right will say, see, they gave in. Let's demand more. And they'll do the same thing on the full-length CR in December. If you give in to these tactics on any particular issue, it encourages them to happen again and again and again. And our economy is tied in one big knot, and our economy goes down, our government is tied in one big knot, and the economy goes down the drain. We won't be extorted now. We won't be extorted 2 weeks from now. We won't be extorted in December. For sure, the Republican bill is a terrible option. It is not a clean CR. It is deeply partisan. It doesn't address far too many of this country's needs. But I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option.
Number two, either one of two things led us to this place. Either this was something that was planned, and therefore you have culpability, or you have lost control of your caucus.
Boo this man!
And in neither case does that lead us to a conclusion of confidence in you moving forward. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I need to just sit with the fact that Trump had a whole Gatsby party in the midst of a government shutdown. They had a whole Gatsby party. They had a girl in a flute glass dancing, no doubt to the pride of all of her family. Okay? They was out here throwing SNAP benefits that they were withholding from the people up in the air at the girl in the flute glass during the government shutdown. In the days before the government shutdown, they were posting memes of you and Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero. That's what went down. This is the same president that called you a Palestinian. That's right, Chuck Schumer. That's right. This that same president. They were so desperate. They were so desperate that when states said that they were going to cover SNAP, we got it. We'll cover SNAP. We'll take care of our people. The administration threatens states not to feed their people. That's how much of a trick bag you had this administration in from a PR standpoint. You had the Gatsby party, you had the memes, you had them going in and telling states not to feed their people. And exactly how does that work? Exactly how does that work? Were they going to go door to door and just knocking Debbie cakes out of people's hands? Was they going to go door to door and collect all the uneaten chicken from the table? I don't know how that was going to work. Because you know, as soon as any of those SNAP funds hits, they was gone. As soon as any of those SNAP funds hit, it was a wrap.
Yeah, I just saw the speaker up there trying to place the blame on Democrats, but I got to be honest with you, you look at the polling data and they simply put not buying Speaker Johnson's arguments. What are we talking about? Well, why don't we just blame more for the 2025 shutdown? Normally, when you see Republican on the screen, that's a good thing because they're leading. But in this case, it's a bad thing because more Americans are blaming him for the shutdown. And you can see it's a sweep across the board.
You had more people blaming Republicans for the shutdown, as well they should. As I said in that video, not nearly enough, but you had more. You were winning the PR battle. And Lord knows y'all are trash at PR.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
Not only were you winning the PR battle, you had just actually won elections. You had just actually won elections. Swept, in fact. And not just in the blue states. Oh, well, you knew Winsome was a bad candidate. Yeah, they'll always say that after they lose, especially if it's one of us. But not just in Virginia and New Jersey and California and New York City. We saw in places like Georgia, in places like Pennsylvania, a clean sweep that you just experienced. We just had a moment of celebration on Tuesday. And this is where I'm at a week later. How could you say something like that? It's like you don't even care about me. They don't care about you. Republicans would rather tear down the White House and build a ballroom celebrating Trump than anything positive to help your day-to-day life. And you know that dancing gonna be trash. Did you know that recently our government killed a bill that would have required data brokers to get your consent before selling your information? That's right. Trump gets his name on the White House ballroom and your name, identity, and private information is out there being compiled and sold to the highest bidder. Now, legally, data brokers do have to remove your private information if you tell them, but of course they make it as hard as possible because they want you to feel hopeless and stuck. And this is where today's sponsor, Aura, comes in. Aura does the hard work for you, constantly scanning the dark web and submitting opt-outs on your behalf. Give Aura a few weeks and you'll stop seeing your information on these sketchy sites when you search yourself. But Aura makes it so much easier because they don't just opt you out of data brokers. Their app includes other features like dark web monitoring, fraud alerts, a VPN, and more. It's truly a great deal if you want to be more private and protected online. You can go to my link, aura.com/Reese Waters. Again, that's aura.com/Reese Waters to try 14 days for free, which is enough time for Aura to start scrubbing your personal information off these broker sites automatically. Oh, you calling back. So you did care. Hello? Oh, it was a butt dial. So I need to understand how in winning the PR battle, in winning the elections, you see an administration so desperate to try and save themselves and to try and cover this, they're calling in favors to the media. Don't think I haven't seen all of those articles blaming the Democrats for not wanting federal workers. The Democrats block federal workers from being paid. And then you read the article and it's Democrats were trying to prevent you from not paying other federal workers. And this was across the landscape of media. I saw it from multiple outlets, including CNN, which had me so tight. That's why you see that members video in CNN The Ops. That's what that's about. That's exactly what that's about. You had the administration get caught. Department of Education got caught changing people's outgoing messages to blame Democrats. Does it get any more desperate than that? Does it get any more desperate than that? And I will say this. If they change my outgoing message, I would never know. Because I don't change it. I make one outgoing message. When I first get to the job, I make my outgoing message when I sign up for the email, and that's what it stays like that for the rest of my employment. You know, I think when I left the station in 2023, my outgoing message was talking about my honeymoon, which happened in 2020.
Congratulations! Oh my God.
You were winning the PR battle. You just won elections. You see how desperate they are. You had just gotten props for your last move. And y'all decide at that point that you want to capitulate. Now, I have been following politics for quite some time. I've been following sports for much longer. I need to know who changes tactics when they win it. I need to know who got a hot hand from the outside and decide they want to start to pack it in. Who running up and down the floor between the tackles and decides they gonna start throwing for no reason. I need to understand how you got down to the 1 yard line with the possibility of winning the Super Bowl and you decide you want to throw a pass into traffic. Seattle Seahawks. That don't make no sense. That doesn't make any logical sense. This is that self-sabotage, low self-esteem that I have been afflicted with many times in my life. Self-sabotage. You got a party that is just engaged in massive self-sabotage. Was that it, Chuck Schumer? Was it the fact that you were like, I can't believe we win it? Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I can't believe they talking about me different. They talking about me different than they used to. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel. People are actually uplifting Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. I can't process this. I can't process this. I got to do something. I got to do something to throw it all away so I can get back to the comfort of being reviled by not only the other side, but my people as well. You saw 11 million protesters out there for no kings. You saw 11 million protesters plus out there for no kings to the point where Mike Johnson was so shook, they tried to use that to blame Democrats. They tried to use the No Kings protests. Oh, well, shutdown's going, they can't make a deal before the No Kings protest because, their base would be mad. That's how massive that was. Let's evaluate the justification. Let's evaluate the justification because I saw Tim Kaine's statement. Matter of fact, let me bring up Tim Kaine's statement right here. I have long said that to earn my vote, we need to be on a path towards fixing Republicans' healthcare mess and to protect the federal workforce. This deal guarantees a vote to extend Affordable Care Act premium tax credits, which Republicans weren't willing to do. Lawmakers know their constituents expect them to vote for it, and if they don't, they could very well be replaced at the ballot box by someone who will. This legislation will protect federal workers from baseless firings, reinstate those who've been wrongfully terminated during the shutdown, and ensure federal workers will receive back pay as required by a law that got passed in 2019. That's a critical step that will help federal employees and all Americans who rely on government services. I'll keep working towards a long-term government spending plan that includes a critical priorities to support Virginians and support for Virginia community projects. Let's start with, you say the legislation will protect federal workers from baseless firings. reinstate those who've been wrongfully terminated during the shutdown, and ensure federal workers receive back pay as required by a law I got passed in 2019. So what you're telling me is there are already laws on the books to do these things. What you're telling me is there are already laws on the books to ensure that federal workers get back pay. And certainly there are laws on the books to ensure against wrongful termination. There are already laws on the books to do these things. But you are taking it as a win because in this deal, you ensured that they could not circumvent the law. So if you have openly ceded that they will circumvent the law if they so choose, then you go and say, this deal guarantees a vote to extend Affordable Care Act premium tax credits, which Republicans weren't willing to do. So you have already offered to us that they are willing to circumvent the law. That's why you had to double down when it came to the federal workers. But now, when it comes to the ACA, you want to trust that they're going to abide by their agreement with you on the ACA to even have a vote. That's number one, to even have a vote. That's before we even get to, will they actually vote for it? To even have a vote. You want to trust them to have a vote, but you can't trust them to take care of federal workers, which is required by law.
Somebody told a lie one day.
Lawmakers know their constituents expect them to vote for it, and if they don't, they could very well be replaced at the ballot box by someone who will. What part of MAGA that you've seen up to this point has shown them be beholden to their constituents? You mean the same MAGA who calls opposition paid rabble rousers and George Soros funded troublemakers? You mean that MAGA? You mean that MAGA? The same MAGA who pushed through the big, beautiful bill which devastated red states and jurisdictions? You mean that MAGA? That's the MAGA you expect to be beholden to their constituents? And by the way, how about this part? How about this part? You said if they don't, they could very well be replaced at the ballot box by someone who will. Okay, well, you would only say that if they don't vote to extend ACA subsidies, they will be replaced by someone who will, if you feel like the sentiment on the ground is overwhelmingly in favor of extending these subsidies. Right? What you're saying is the feeling on the ground is overwhelmingly in support to extend these subsidies. And if that's the case, why the hell would you make this deal when you are holding them accountable for extending the subsidies right now?
Come here.
Shut your stupid ass up.
Then they come with, well, you know, we just for the good of the country, we got to get back to work for the good of the country. We got to get back to work. Oh, okay. So all of this was for nothing then, because this deal been on the table. This deal been on the table. How is it that when I go online and I see a sale, I take the time to look at the price history to make sure I'm not being sold a bill of goods. Don't tell me that it's rollback pricing when it's been the same price for 3 months. You had them convince you that it was a rollback deal when it been on the table for 3 weeks. That deal been on the table for 3 weeks, and you out here moving like it's a rollback deal. If it was for the good of the country, if that deal was halfway decent, you would have reacted this way in the beginning when it was offered, and we could have avoided all of the shutdown ramifications. But that didn't happen because you knew that deal was trash when it was thrown on the table 3 weeks ago. Y'all notice that not a single one of the Democrats that crossed over is up for re-election.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
Not a single one of the Democrats that crossed over is up for re-election. They're either retiring or they are good beyond 2026. Now, what are the chances? What are the chances? See, what are the chances that the people that are right now in the firing line for having supported this deal, not a single one of them can get packed up? What are the chances? Now, I'm just going to tell you this. You will never beat the scheme allegations like that. Never. I mean, you could have at least thrown in one senator or two that was up for real. No, none. Yeah. Y'all not beating them scheme allegations. So even though we have the shame on you with the 8 Democrats that were the ones that crossed the line, let's not act like those are. I must say, I believe it was more than that. I believe it was more, or maybe it was only 8, but it wasn't those 8. You know what I mean? Maybe it was only 8, but it wasn't those 8. What was happening during this shutdown was holding the Republicans responsible and accountable for their own legislating. So they get to legislate for the billionaires and for one another and for Trump, and throw their own people and constituency under the bus, but then expect the Democrats to come running to the rescue to save the American people, even though they don't even get the congratulations or the benefit of having done so, because we just saw in November how many people were willing to cross Biden, how many people he had helped, specific sectors and industries like farmers that he had helped personally. We saw them go against their own best interest to vote for Trump. So you get no benefit for that whatsoever. But what they get is the freedom to legislate willy-nilly. They get the freedom to be out here moving for one another and for billionaires and for themselves without being held accountable. And you tell me how that's sustainable. And what happens in the very next instance? Days later, after that conversation is had, they come running again to the rescue. The same Democrats capitulated earlier this year with the big, beautiful bill and told their constituency that this was to make sure that we had leverage later in the year. We wanted to make sure we had leverage in November. And this is how you use the leverage in November. When you're winning the PR battle and the elections. This is how you use your leverage in November. So, as badly as the GOP and MAGA have managed these first 10 months of Trump's administration, as badly as Trump has handled his own first 10 months of this administration, as low as their approval rating is across the board as a party, yours remains lower. Yours is lower. And you wonder why.
Listen to everybody. Nobody believes in you.
The same people who have tried to exclude you from every negotiation they could. How many times have I sat here and talked about Republicans disregarding the Democrats and negotiating on their own and trying to ram something through? And I'm like, wow, that's disrespectful as hell. Why would they respect you? Why would they respect you? Huh? Why would they respect you? I've seen extras in cuckold sessions that garner more respect than the Senate Democrats. Why would they respect you? You teach people how to treat you. You teach people how to treat you. And what have we learned? What have we learned? That they don't have to respect you. That they don't have to abide by your word. That you will always fold. Even when you're winning. That's what you taught them. At some point, your constant complaining about how out of pocket and outlandish the opposition is, whether it's the Republicans, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your boss, don't matter who it is. At some point, you become responsible because they have given you all of the information. Maybe the first, maybe the second time we can point the fingers, but they've given you all of the information and you have repeatedly conveyed to them that that treatment was okay. Now it's a you thing. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Y'all still booing Trump? It's been days. No, you good, but just quiet down. I'm trying to make some content over here. I gotta give a quick shout out to my editors that have been absolutely killing it. My man Denzel, as well as Boz, who's been coming through crucial. However, they could use some help.
Help me! Help me!
You know, some reinforcements, a day off every now and again.
I'm so tired, but also hungry.
I should probably feed them and get them some fresh air every now and again. That probably would be good. I know it's been a while since I solicited for help, but I might be reaching out to some of you guys. So if you get an email like weeks after you reached out to me, don't be alarmed. And of course, if you have a particular set of skills and would like to join the team, hit me up at admin@reesewaters.com. Speaking of joining the team, congratulations to all of our members. We just recently hit 3,000. And you know what that means? No, not like the movie Mr. 3000. Although I will take Bernie Mac's career arc though. I will take that. No, it means a members live. Y'all remember how crazy it got last time.
Nasty bitch.
So be on the lookout for notifications for that, as well as discounts on merch. And yes, we got some new stuff out there. Is that a Kamala was right and a release the files? Oh, it's going to be FAFO when I hit the streets in this. I'ma kill them this wintertime. Speaking of merch, no, I'm getting to you, Lee. I'm getting to you, Lee. I received this email from my man, Lee, who said, discouraged, depleted, can't find merch to meet it. Hey, Reese team, I woke up this morning ready to bless my closet with some Reese Waters gear, had my card out, playlist on, and my confidence high. I hit the site and got hyped to see those dope t-shirts and hoodies. That North Carolina blue RWT fire, the black discouraged, depleted, but never defeated shirt, instant classic. Now, the racism shirt, man, that segment alone deserves its own museum wing. Though Who Raised Y'all, which needs its own shirt, might be tied for first. But here's my problem. None, and I mean none of the shirts or hoodies come in 3XL. That's a personal attack on my confidence and my brisket intake. I'm a proud black man living in Arkansas, so you already know the struggle and the appetite. Can the 3XL brethren get some love too? I'm speaking on behalf of the discouraged, depleted, but never defeated, but definitely well-fed sized members of the channel. As somebody who used to always ask the clerks at Marshall's if this shirt came in bird chest, I know exactly what you mean, and that is something we will absolutely work on. Thank you so much for reaching out. You can always hit me up at admin@reesewaters.com. I'm going to be hitting you guys up for some year-end awards. More on that a little bit later, but as well as a Thanksgiving video, which I would like your input on as well. So check out the polls. You can catch them in the community tab, also via email. Is there any room left in the booing? Y'all got space? Upper deck? I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll be back. Boo! I ain't been this proud of DC since we won the Stanley Cup.